What's up, people, and welcome to part 4 in our series for Alita Battle Angel and the possible content that will come out in any possible sequels in the future. And over the past few weeks, we talked about a lot of things from Nova to Motorball to Mars and the Berserker Body. But today I want to talk about something that I find quite important, which is the Zapan Arc. And the question I would like to ask is, for people who know the storyline, do you feel that the next movie will contain the Zapan Arc? And does the first movie show indicators that suggest that the Zapan Arc will be the major theme for part 2? So before I move on, I would like to give my default spoiler alert. Because I feel the Zapan Arc is one of the most pivotal arcs of the entire Battle Angel Alita series, and it's one of those that I really don't want anybody who hasn't read the comic to get spoiled on, I will avoid any plot points that come up in the future with regards to the Zapan Arc. I don't want to talk about the plot of the Zapan Arc. What I want to talk about in this video are key indicators that I see from the first movie that may indicate that the Zapan Arc may come out in the second movie. However, because I will be talking about certain indicators, they may give clues to what will happen in the Zapan Arc if it comes out in the second movie. And so for those of you who feel that even that may be too much and you might get spoiled with regards to any clues that are given due to the indicators that we discuss here, I would suggest that you turn off this video. And I would like to ask anybody who posts comments down at the bottom to avoid talking directly about the Zapan Arc, because once again, I feel it is a really key pivotal arc and storyline for the next movie if it comes out in the next movie. And I don't want people who haven't read the comic to get spoiled on that. I said the same thing before the first movie came out with regards to the Hugo arc. And the same way and the same reason, I would like to ask that people refrain from talking directly about what happens in the Zapan Arc. And I thank every poster in advance for taking consideration of the other readers when you post. And for those people who haven't read the comic, please watch this at your discretion. Okay, so as mentioned, I feel that the Zapan Arc is a very important arc to the storyline of Battle Angel Alita, and it's one of the pivotal storylines. It's probably the first indication of a major event that happens in the storyline that sets the tone for the rest of the comic series. There are certain arcs in every story that are like that. If you were to watch One Piece, it will be the Arlong arc. If you were to watch Naruto, it will be the first mission that Team 7 takes on. And of course, if you were to watch Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it will be the Winter Soldier episode. And because of this, I have been anticipating and hoping that the next movie will contain the Zapan Arc. And of course, if they're faithful to the storyline, because the Zapan Arc is the following arc after the Motorball arc, it should be in the next movie coming out, since we are already halfway into Motorball, and I expect that the remaining part of Motorball will conclude in the first part of this movie, or the sequel movie. And so I've been covering the first movie, looking in detail at some of the key scenes that may indicate that the next arc will include the Zapan Arc. And I just wanted to discuss them here to see how you all feel about these indicators. Okay, so the first indication is an obvious one, and that is the demise of Zapan in the first movie. And since the first movie was relatively faithful to the main storyline, it was kind of expected that we would see the demise of Zapan the way we saw it in the comic book. Now, one thing I would have to say is the comic book was a lot more aggressive in how Zapan ended up. I mean, it was pretty nasty what you saw in the movie when Alita took the Damascus blade and sliced part of Zapan's face off. But in the comic, she basically ripped his entire front half of the skull off. It was surprising that he was able to talk, considering he really had no mouth left. And this, of course, is very important because that traumatic incident sets up the events that start the Zapan arc. And so by seeing the demise of Zapan in the first movie, this indicates that they are probably going to be faithful and move on to the Zapan arc in the second movie. Because if you think about it, if they wanted to go a different route and if they wanted to kill Zapan off, I would have expected that they would have just killed Zapan off rather than leave him alive in that traumatic situation. And so once again, this seems to indicate that rather than go a different route, that they do want to follow the route that occurred in the comic and move towards the Zapan arc. Now the next indicator that we see in the first movie is the final scene of the movie where we see Alita in her new motorball outfit. And from all indications, this does look like her new body, which is the motorball body. Now we know from the comic that she needs to switch from her berserker body to her motorball body because as good as the berserker body is designed for fighting, it's not the fastest body around. And for a champion level motorball race, you need to get the fastest body available. This would be like comparing a military vehicle to a F1 racer, right? So at the sacrifice of durability and strength, she replaces it with the motorball body, which is much faster in speed. And of course, by doing so, she has to relinquish her berserker body and put it into storage. And of course, that again sets up the whole situation with regards to what will happen in the Zapan arc. Now, I think that this is the motorball body because all things indicate that it looks exactly like the motorball body that she had in the comic, with the exception of one scene. When she raises the Damascus blade in the end of the movie, you notice that she shoots out her plasma charge. And what's surprising about that is, of course, the plasma capability is something specific to the berserker body and is not available in her motorball body. So this one thing may indicate that she still has her berserker body on. However, my feeling is that this may have been just a slight error in the people who wanted to make such a dramatic ending in the movie that they forgot that the motorball body does not have plasma capabilities. Now, one thing they could do is to just give her plasma capabilities in the motorball body, and that will solve all problems. Of course, it loses some of the unique characteristics of the berserker body, but at least it'll keep the story kind of in line while still being able to show that this is the motorball body. But in any case, I do feel that this is a different body than the berserker body, and if that's the case, once again, that seems to be a good setup for the Zapan arc. And the third indicator that I feel was in the first movie that indicates that the second movie will be about the Zapan arc is the focus on McTigue, who you may remember is the hunter warrior that owns those 4 cyber dogs. And they did focus a lot of time on him compared to the other hunter warriors. And I feel that that is because they want to introduce him in this movie so that they could bring him back in the second movie. And of course, that will be the case because the corresponding character in the comic, who is Murdoch, who also owns the 4 cyber dogs, is an important factor in the Zapan arc. And I think that is great because I really did like the way Jeff Fahey portrayed McTigue, and I would definitely like to see more of him in action, including his 4 dogs, which in the comic were Fury, Valor, Hubris, and Glory, if I remember. And of course, I would be really happy if they brought Fury back, especially in the way they showed him in the comic, where he used those big, sharp, droopy dog ears and flung it around in an effective manner to slice and dice all of his opponents. But in any case, I did feel that focusing on McTigue for the first movie was another indicator that they will be following up with the Zapan Arc in any possible sequels. And the next indicator is not something that came out in the movie, but is something that James Cameron himself said when he was interviewed, that in the next few movies they may have a different title other than Alita Battle Angel, and the second movie may be called Alita Fallen Angel, which seems to imply a darker version of the movie series, which makes sense if it was the Zapan Arc, because as we know, the Zapan Arc is one of the darkest storylines in the Battle Angel Alita first comic series. Which is saying a lot because the entire series is extremely dark by itself, but I do feel that if there is going to be an arc that will be really appropriate to the title Alita Fallen Angel, I would think that it will be the Zapan Arc. So those are some of the indicators that I found in the movie that implied that the second movie may be about the Zapan Arc. Now there were some things that I also saw in the movie that indicated otherwise, and probably the most prominent was the fact that Nova was up in Zalem, which of course cannot be the case if they were to have the Zapan Arc, because Nova needs to appear down in Iron City. Now of course this can easily be resolved if we have Nova travel down from Zalem to Iron City to meet with Ido and Lita, or that because he has that mind link capability in the movies, he will find another pawn and mind link to that person to meet with Alita and Ido. I don't know. I like the first option better than the second one because it is more faithful to the comic storyline, and it will definitely be good because then we'll be able to meet Edward Norton in person and see Nova for the first time in these movies. And of course that will be a real treat because of the fact that Nova is such a whacked out villain or antagonist that it would be really nice to see how he's portrayed in the movie. Anyway, these are some of the scenes that I saw in the movie that indicated and suggested that the next movie may cover the Zapan Arc. And I really hope that if they do come out with a sequel that it will cover the Zapan Arc, because once again, it is a really phenomenal arc in my opinion. Now I don't know how a lot of the viewers who went to the movie who haven't read the comic will react to this, because it is a very dark right turn in the storyline. And many who feel that this movie was a really good inspirational feel-good sort of movie may be extremely slapped in the face if they see the Zapan Arc as the sequel. But I find that it's absolutely important because it covers so much of what I value about the story with regards to things like points of view, with regards to understanding humanity, understanding the grayness between good and evil, and of course, understanding karma, which is one of the biggest aspects of this Battle Angel Alita storyline, which I would like to cover in a future episode. But in any case, I do hope that these indicators are real and that they will be covering the Zapan Arc in the next movie, and if they do, yeah, I will be a really happy person. And I think that having Ed Skrein portray Zapan was a very good choice for the movie, because of course we all know that he's really good at portraying evil characters. But what I find is whenever you see him in an interview and you see him as the actor Ed Skrein rather than the character he portrays, you see a really soft side of him. And that would be really nice to see, you know, in the big screen, you know, where we see the softer, more humble version of Zapan that's necessary in the Zapan Arc. And it will be really nice to see Ed Skrein play something beyond just the evil characters that he always portrays in these movies. And I feel that he will be able to do a really good job just watching him portray himself in these interviews. In any case, that's about it for my discussion regarding the possibility for the Zapan Arc to be coming out in the next movie. And yeah, I would like to hear your comments with regards to how you feel about this. Do you feel that the next movie will cover the Zapan Arc? Or do you feel that it will be something else? And once again, please keep the discussions with regards to what you see in the current movie that's indicative of the Zapan Arc coming or not coming out in the next movie. And please try to avoid talking anything about the plot of the Zapan Arc to prevent spoilers to anybody who has not read the comic. And once again, thank you very much in advance for that. Anyway, I'll continue to make more Alita Battle Angel videos in the future, and if I do so, I hope you join me at that time. Thank you very much for continuing to watch and comment on these videos, because I really find your input to be really, really appreciative. Anyway, so until the next time, happy movie watching, happy anime watching, happy Alita Battle Angel watching, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.